Hi, I'm Ethan. Today I'm reviewing Death Stranding, or as I like to call it, Hideo Kojima somehow made walking fun. Now, besides the fact that that would be a terrible title, it's pretty accurate. If you don't know who Hideo Kojima is, he's the director of games such as Metal Gear Solid. That's actually the only game I know that he's done. But regardless, the Metal Gear Solid series is amazing. So everyone came into this game with extremely high expectations. There were lots of trailers that were all extremely cryptic and, if anything, left more questions than answered them. But I didn't watch any of them. I went in completely blind and had a great time. So far, I've only played the game for about 10 hours or so this is more of a first impressions than a review. See, the full game is somewhere around 60 to 100 hours to complete, so naturally, you either have to get the copy 2 weeks early or absolutely binge the hell out of it to really get a full opinion on it. But as of just the first 10 hours, it's a really entertaining game so far. The story is just as confusing as the trailers would make it out to be. So far, the one major character I do like, although he is a bit generic. Sam's his name, and he's just kind of got that, oh, I'm the protagonist, but I don't want to be kind of thing going on. I hope that changes soon. I hope there's a bit more of a character arc to him. But if not, I don't know, I still kind of like him. Sam's played by Norman Reedus, which I find funny because this is like the third thing that Norman Reedus has been in where it's not someone voice acted by Norman Reedus. It's straight up Norman Reedus. You know, he's got the motorcycle and everything. He's got the same hair, same face. It's just Norman Reedus with a different name. If you want to go in completely blind, I don't recommend watching this. Very small things. I'm basically going to be talking about what the objective of the game is and some very basic premises. But again, I suggest going in blind. Regardless, you play as what's called a porter in post-apocalyptic America. A porter is basically a glorified cargo delivery person. You go from point A to point E, delivering packages to different towns of the United Cities of America, because, you know, all the states are gone in this world. And that brings us to the main objective of the game. You are linking all the cities together to unify America once more after whatever disaster has happened, because, frankly, it doesn't explain outright. All you know is that there are some invisible monsters walking around that kill you by aging, which I think is a really unique way of killing. There's also the timefall, which is a rain that does the same thing. And both of these elements combined turn walking from point A to point B into I have to worry about a multitude of different things. You know, if you start walking and all of a sudden it starts raining, the rain is going to deteriorate your packages and, well, frankly, you just get a lower score. But the game somehow makes it feel as if that's incredibly important. I mean, picking up an extra package doesn't really do anything, but somehow or another, it really makes you feel like you need to. It's hard to explain without actually experiencing it, but trust me, it's somehow enjoyable. Then we get back to those monsters, BTs they're called. Whenever they come, there's specific things you have to do in order to avoid them. You have to stealthily walk around the area, and hopefully you'll make it out alive. The game's not that hard though. I'm playing on the hardest difficulty, and I've only died like 2 or 3 times after 9-10 hours of playing. Which I don't frankly mind. I like going in for just the story, but it could use a little bit more difficulty. There's not a lot of combat either. You can encounter some hostile enemies, human enemies, but most of the combat is just square, square, square rhythmically. As far as I know, they could add weapons later on, so I'm not going to judge too harshly on that. But gameplay elements and story aside, the graphics and animations on this game are some of the best I've seen on the PS4, especially with the PS4 Pro. So, I think we've passed Uncanny Valley. So Uncanny Valley is when you see an animated character or piece of art that looks human, but there's just something off about it, and it kind of creeps you out. I think like a year or 2 ago, we were at that Uncanny Valley stage with games like Detroit Become Human, but I think games have passed that in a point where they just look real. I mean, the facial animations are phenomenal. For example, you can rest in a private room and do a variety of small things like check your inventory, look closely at your suits, or you can go to the sync and just play a bunch of different animations that showcase keep calling him Norman Reedus because that's who he is. That showcase Sam just messing around with his face. He'll look closely at a mirror, do something like this, and all the motions are accurate as if a real human were doing it. There are also a number of admittedly useless scenes, like you'll see the guy in the shower, water flowing on him, flowing in through the drain, and it almost makes me think that half the game is just Hideo Kojima wanting to show off his animation skills, well, his team's animation skills. Another thing I forgot to mention when we were talking about the walking is that they implement balance and momentum with the physics engine. So as you stack items, as you stack more crates on your backpack, your character will start to shift left or right depending on how well the center of balance is held. Or if you have a ton of things just stacked way high above you, you'll start walking all hunched over, and if you run too fast, you'll trip and fall. This can easily be negated with the L2 and R2 buttons, but I think it's a really interesting concept, and it plays out real well. Another thing is you gain momentum, so if you run down a hill and you stop moving the sticks, your character will keep running. Even so, you can run off a cliff. I did that in the first 10 seconds of the game by accident. But overall, I'm really liking the game so far. I don't have any major complaints other than the fact that there's really no extra thing in combat, but I think that's because when Hideo Kojima was talking about this game, he described it as a new genre, and it sounded pretentious at the time, but yeah, I mean, this is a game unlike anything I've ever played. This isn't a game for everyone. If you're just looking for the action-packed Call of Duty of whatever, you're not going to find it here. This is a much more slower-paced game that you really have to think about to enjoy, I guess. As of now, it's sitting like a mid-9, upper 9, maybe about, just call it a 9.5 to be safe. There's still some issues with it. Like I mentioned, it can be pretty slow-paced, even for me. But I really like it so far. I recommend you give it a shot. See ya.